YouTube, M1 American here. Just want to go over some water safety tips for you guys. First things first, you need about a gallon of water a day to stay healthy. You can survive with less, but it's recommended that you have 1 gallon of pure water a day. Okay, with that in mind, if you're stockpiling or just day-to-day use or in an emergency situation, you want to keep in mind how you're going to acquire this. That's why I have this layout here. We have iodine, we have chlorine, we have filters, we have, other bottles, fire sources. Okay, but there's a lot of myths going around. Okay, on a day-to-day basis, you go to the, the cooler and you go buy a bottle of water. That's why this one's unlabeled, just like the Coca-Cola Pepsi fight. 65% of everybody who took that blind taste test got it wrong. Okay, they got their favorites wrong that they would have sworn to they knew which was better. Okay, same thing goes with water. And the funny thing is, it's a proven fact that most waters are actually better from the tap than the bottle when you don't know what you're drinking. They've done these taste tests in like Colorado. I'm not going to say who it is against, but if you look that up, I'm sure you'll find it, and I'm sure you'll be surprised. These are some of the biggest named water bottling companies out there. Okay, so not to get hung up in all that, but do not get stuck on the brand of water. Almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them are just filtered tap water. Maybe 5 times filtered, but the same thing as taking a Brita filter yourself at your home, running it through there, from the faucet, into a cup, and then filtering it through, 4 more times after that. It's going to be the same thing. Do you really care after that point? No, it's not that big of a difference. Some of them boast on there that they have, what's that? Reverse osmosis and all these things. Okay, well, how far do you need to go? How much are you really worried about? And the truth of the matter is, the less filtered it is, the more tasteful it is. Okay, if you've ever had absolutely pure water, we're talking grab a bottle of distilled water off the shelf and drink it, because that's boiled down to nothing in it. Yeah, it doesn't taste very good. Matter of fact, it leaves your mouth almost dry. Okay, so how filtered do you really want your water? Okay, so don't get hung up in all that. In an emergency situation, however, there's a little bit to consider. Okay, let's say there was a flood. Flood waters came in from a river or whatever, ruined your house, and all your backup water, your bottled water, was on the floor in a closet. Sat there for a couple days. Now you need to treat, the idea behind this is you need to treat those bottles as contaminated. Okay, that plastic isn't impervious to organisms like Giardia or Cryptosporidium. Okay, so treat them as if they were contaminated. Now you need to purify what was purified water. Okay, so don't be foolish about it. These things will put you down, for a week, or put you in the hospital even. Especially, like, I think it's Cryptosporidium is really hard to treat once you have it. So, and the more times it's treated, it almost grows immune to it, so you have to be careful. Okay. I have bleach and iodine here. Now these would be like your backups. I would say boiling your water should be your first method if you can do it. Okay, takes the longest, sort of, because you have to boil it and then you have to let it cool so you can consume it. But for 3 minutes at a boil, not from the time you heat it, at a boil, a roaring boil for 3 minutes minimum is what's required to make it safe to drink. Before that though, you should use like this coffee filter. If you don't have a coffee filter, you can use the shirt off your back, whatever, just to filter sediment through. Okay, this is just to, get it as clear as possible before you boil it, just so you're drinking less of the garbage. Okay, that's from a river, that's from however you're doing this. Either one of these you use, the iodine or the chlorine, you want to keep in mind that using them in warm water is more effective. So if you can warm your water, it doesn't have to be hot, doesn't have to be boiling. If you can warm it first, both of these are more effective in warm water. Now the chlorine, you're looking at this probably going, that looks like pool chlorine. Well, that's because it is. Okay, but the active ingredients in it here, see that? Calcium hypochlorite, if my camera will stay focused. That is the #1 active ingredient you want to look for. Calcium hypochlorite, not sodium. Sodium hypochlorite is way too potent, way too powerful. All these measurements that I'm going to give you is based off of calcium, which is also what the EPA recommends as well. Okay, so filter, your water into something to keep it as clear as possible. And I'm going to throw some numbers at you. You're going to take a heaping teaspoon of this calcium hypochlorite powder. You're going to take a heaping teaspoon. You're going to dump that into 2 gallons of water, and that's going to make 2 gallons of bleach. Out of that 2 gallons of bleach, you're going to take 16 ounces, which is that much, 16 ounces, I don't know if you can see it, it's 2 cups of bleach, and you're going to mix that into your unpurified water. That's going to make, that 16 ounces is going to make 12.5 gallons of purified water. Now, you just took 16 ounces out of 2 gallons of bleach. So 12 gallons of purified water from 16 ounces is quite a bit. You got a lot more you can make out of 1 tablespoon. Okay, so this is a 1-pound bag you can get from like Walmart or anybody that has pool supplies. These also keep for a very long time in powder form. In liquid form, they do not. They evaporate fairly quickly. They're not going to last years and years. Especially if the cap's off, they can evaporate within hours. And lose their potency altogether to where it's just a water-based content left over. It's not a bleach, a true bleach. So keep as much powder in stock as you can. I mean, maybe, a couple pounds. A 5-pound box is perfect. It's easy to store. That's what I would do. But with a whole box, I mean, a 5-pound box, you get somewhere around like 125,000 gallons of water. It's ridiculous, but it's a lot, and it does not evaporate. The powder does not. Okay, so not to go into too much, boring detail. So 1 heaping teaspoon into 2 gallons of water will make 2 gallons of bleach. Take 16 ounces out of that, and that will turn 16 ounces of your bleach will turn 12.5 gallons of unpurified into purified water. Okay, so those are your key numbers. Another thing to keep in mind, the bleach is better than the iodine. So I'd prefer this over this, but I'd prefer boiling over both of them. And if you can do all of them, better for you. And you don't have to stick to these iodine tablets either. These iodine tablets are pretty expensive. You can use regular 2% US iodine in the right amounts, which is 5 drops of 2% US iodine to each quart or liter of clear water. So you filtered it, through a cloth or something. So through a quart or liter of water, and that'll make, or 10 drops to cloudy water, and that'll make about a quart to a liter of purified water. But if you use the iodine, the key number is 30 minutes. Let it sit for 30 minutes and make sure the water is at least room temperature before you do it. That'll just, help enforce that it's working better. Okay, I'm going to cut this here and be right back. A couple more things, just so you guys know, is that, it's hard to keep, 1,000 gallons of water on hand for an emergency. That's why I like to keep the powder. Iodine's nice because it's portable, it's easy to travel with, and the numbers are a lot easier to remember with iodine, but it's not as potent, it's not as good as chlorine is to killing things like, cryptoceridium and giardia and all that stuff. But really what it comes down to is if you have fire, you can boil, actually, I don't know if you guys know this, you can boil in a plastic bottle over fire. Okay, as long as there's water in it, it'll help maintain dispersion of the heat. So instead of melting the bottom's going to heat up, but the water's going to disperse the heat throughout the bottle. So at a decent height from the flame, you can actually boil water into one of these bottles. You can actually do it in thinner bottles than this. You just have to be careful. So even if you don't have metal, you're still not stuck. Just be advised that you don't want to keep it too close to the flame. You don't want to burn through it totally. But yeah, the water, as long as it's full of water, will disperse the heat, and you'll be able to boil even in plastic. Another thing you guys can do for water emergency is I picked up this plastic bag. This actually goes over a couch, which is just a big giant plastic cloth. I picked this up on clearance at a it's like a storage facility who is getting rid of a bunch of these things. And this one's huge, but something like this, can make a giant water trap for either humidity. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you have your ground, you can dig a ditch. If you have plants down in that ditch, you hang the tarp of plastic over the top of it and put a rock in the center of it, making the tarp droop like this, putting a bottle to catch it right at the center of that droop, and over the day and throughout the night, the water will run down the inside from the plant's humidity and will fall into that bucket. You're not going to gain a ton of water this way, but at least you'll get something. The other way is the reverse, which is collecting dew in the same way. Dig a hole in the ground, lay your tarp over it, put a hole in the center of it, and let the water, sink into the center, and underneath you'll have an open container for it to drip into. Those are just a couple other ways, and you can drink that right out of the container. You're not going to have to filter it because it's pure. It's from the air. If you're, really worried, you can always boil it, but it's not recommended that you have to. So I hope this has been somewhat informative to you guys. Keep in mind all these little tricks of the trade. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them down below. Other than that, I hope you guys be safe. Research, do your research. Look this stuff up. Don't take my word or anybody else's word. If somebody says something like this online, look it up yourself before you do it. Alright? So on that, be safe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.